This is one of those times where people would say you're changing your set, and the reality is I just turned it around to face the living room instead of the set because it's easier doing this on the board right now than it is doing it on that board and being in that corner. So here we go. We got 8 games on tomorrow night, which is tonight for some. So these are the February 9th games. Again, because I work from 8 in the morning my time until 2:30 my time. There's no point in me posting the preview video an hour before the game start because just nobody's gonna see it and it's gonna be like, yeah, it's too late. What's he doing? Stupid hockey guy. Um, so let's go ahead and get things started. Columbus, 27, 22, and 4 against Washington, 31, 17, and 5. Columbus, 3, 6, and 1 in their last 10. Washington, 4, 4, and 1. Columbus lost their last 4 in a row, and Washington won their last game. Washington's been iffy, and yet they're gaining ground because almost everybody behind them is losing. Almost. There's a team we'll get into in a bit here that's not losing ground. And anyways, the Capitals. This is going to be a very American-looking game between Columbus and Washington, and it's a game Washington needs at home. It's a game Columbus desperately needs. Columbus cannot afford to fall further. If this losing streak hits 6, I'm going to go ahead and say, you know what? They're going to miss the playoffs. And yet, I'd be saying that while they'd still mathematically be alive for the playoffs because the Metro has really been in the tank since the first of the year. If Holtby's playing and if he can play up to his best, then I don't know that Columbus is going to be able to answer it. And I say that because I've seen enough out of Columbus over the last couple weeks to see that there's issues. There's issues with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and they need to get them fixed. And I don't know that Jarmo Kekalainen's going to be able to do it at the deadline. I'm not sure if they're going to make a dramatic move or if it's going to be minor moves or what they're going to do. But there's some guys with contracts that aren't playing up to them. And if Jack Johnson wants out and there's any market for him, by all means, get him out of there. Just move him. Get him gone. Get him out of there. Because clearly there's an issue with Columbus. Maybe it's in the locker room. Maybe there's something going on there. But they got to fix this. This can't keep going like this. Edmonton, 23, 25, and 4. They're 5, 4, and 1 in their last 10. Their last loss was the controversial loss to LA. Anaheim, 26, 19, and 10. 6, 3, and 1 in their last 10, and they won their last game. That 6, 3, and 1 in their last 10 is a little bit deceptive. Anaheim really wanted to come back off that road trip with a better record than what they ended up with. That record is not fantastic. But they get Edmonton. So here's the matchup between two teams that really hated each other in the playoffs. And I wonder if this is going to show up tomorrow night. Are these teams going to play a heated game? Are we going to see a lot of really tight checking and a lot of hanging around and palling around after the whistle? Or are we going to see just a finesse game and there's not going to be any hint of the hatred they had for each other in the playoffs? I wouldn't be surprised if the hatred from the playoffs shows up just a little bit, just a tiny, just a touch, because there's no love lost between these two teams. There just isn't. And Edmonton is desperate for wins, and so's Anaheim. Anaheim, 26 wins, 19 losses, 10 overtime losses. These 10 overtime losses get them within shouting distance of the playoffs, but they don't have a tiebreaker on anybody. So they can't afford to finish tied with anybody. They have to pass teams. And you got to do it now. San Jose lost at home against Vegas. Make your home game against the Oilers count. Win that one. So, we'll see if they're able to do that. Now, in other action, the St. Louis Blues, 33-20 and 3. I almost said 23-20 and 3. No, 33-20 and 3 against the 32-13 and 9 Winnipeg Jets. St. Louis is 7 and 3 in their last 10. They won their last game. Winnipeg 6-2-2 in their last 10, and they won their last 2 games. These are two teams playing very, very well, and I expect a clash. And I expect this game to be fantastic. This I think should be the game of the night, and yet there's another one that could challenge it. Winnipeg just needs to get up early. They need to play their game. Winnipeg's got an intimidating record at home, and if they can win this, they then take over sole possession of first place in the division again. Right now, they're technically tied with Nashville. Nashville has a game in hand, so depending on which website you go to, they'll show Nashville at number 1. Personally, I would qualify Winnipeg as number 1 because they got more regulation or overtime wins than Nashville, and I'm not going to give them credit for winning a game in hand when they haven't been winning their games in hand. They only have one game in hand now on the Winnipeg Jets. So if the Jets can win this one tomorrow night, which will be tonight for a lot of people who are watching this, they have an excellent chance of managing to finish first in that division. And that could be key. In the playoffs, that could be key. Do you really want to play against either St. Louis or Nashville in the first round? Probably not. So, by all means, get some distance between yourself and St. Louis, and get some distance between yourself and Nashville too. So while Nashville has had a bobble its last couple of games, take full advantage, especially since you're at home. And at home, like I said, Winnipeg has been just excellent. Next up, Vancouver, not excellent lately. 21-27-6. They're 4-6-0 in their last 10. They've lost their last 3 games. Carolina, 24-21-9. They're 4-5-1 in their last 10, and they've lost their last 3 games. And action. A team that should be better against a team that's right about where they were supposed to be. And they're both struggling in a number of areas. Carolina needs a little more lethal attack than what they've had. And it's likely going to be Cam Ward in net again. I would imagine Cam Ward will be in net. I can't see it being Darling. Even though the coach has made it clear that he's kind of fed up with this and he's ready to sell. Until I hear it from Ron Francis, I don't know. They're not that far out. They have 57 points. They're sitting 4 points back of Philly. They're really not that far back. And it's a shame they keep losing games because somebody in the Metro has to get hot now. They just have to. Eventually they'll start playing each other and somebody has to win those games, right? You can't both lose a game. In a shocking turn of events, the Islanders and the Rangers played each other tonight and both teams lost. We don't know how. They both lost 4-2. We're trying to figure it out ourselves. We've had the telestrator up for hours and we can't figure it out. We have no idea. Ray Ferraro's crying himself to sleep in a corner. All kidding aside, though, Vancouver comes in. The effort's there. Gosh darn it, they're really reminding me of the Canucks from the 80s. When the effort was there, they try. They don't have the pieces. And Canuck fans got mad at me early in the season when I said it. I would hope that they're all on board with me now that the Canucks just don't have the pieces. And it's time to sell off what you can, see what the market is for a guy like a Thomas Vanek, and move on, because this is not the year. It's not even close to the year. This is not ending well. And even though they had a better record on the road than they had at home, that's kind of evened out now. I don't see them as a better road team than they are as a home team right now. It's just kind of it's a mess. And for Carolina, they have to take advantage of it. Jump on the Canucks early, take advantage of the fact that they're coming off of a 5-2 loss against Tampa, and just do what you got to do. So we'll see if they can. Now, here's an interesting one. LA, 29-19-5. They're 5-5-0 in their last 10. They've won their last 2. Florida, 23-22-6. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They've won their last 4. So, the LA Kings got off to this huge, great start. Then they fell right back and looked like they were falling right out of the playoffs. Now they've won their last 2. They're flirting with respectability and possibly getting into the playoffs. Florida is above 500. It's not the first time they've been above 500 this year, but this is kind of the best hockey they've played. They've won 4 in a row. Can they make it 5? Florida's not a team that I look at and say, oh yeah, with the right run they can make the playoffs. but at least making it look like the Atlantic Division isn't hot garbage from 4 through 8 would be nice. And really, it's about pride. It's about, again, you don't want your division to look like garbage from 4 through 8. And Florida's played really well. If Satteri's still in net, and I've heard rumors that Luongo is nearing the point of return. Luongo had very good numbers at the time he got hurt, so Luongo coming back doesn't hurt them, unless he's not 100% ready, and Luongo's done that before. But the Kings come in needing this. If the Kings can win this game, they move up to 65 points, and really, LA still has enough points because of that hot start that they can weather this, and they can make the playoffs. But it's really on them to gear up and get back into whatever they were doing early in the year. Whatever they were doing early in the year, they have to do it again. And they have to do it tomorrow night, which will be tonight for a lot of people that are watching in Florida. I just keep forgetting, like I'm doing these previews a day ahead, which is strange to me, but I have to because of my schedule at work. And it's just what it is. Okay. Calgary. 28-18-8. The Rangers 25-24-5. The Rangers are 3-7. They've lost their last 4. They'll be raining down paper on all their fans tomorrow night about how the season's over. The Flames are 4-2-4 in their last 10. Don't let that fool you. They've won their last 3, and Calgary, minus that 6-game losing streak, has been awesome. That 6-game losing streak in the middle kind of being a depressing thing, but they lost 4 of them in overtime, so those are 4 more points, which equals 2 more wins. This is a game that really, again, the Rangers have gone from respectable to demolished in 2 weeks. And I genuinely feel bad for them as a guy who's not even a Rangers fan. I genuinely feel bad for the Rangers. This is a sad tale. This is not the kind of thing that you want to see happen to any team. And it's funny because this is where I've evolved as a fan. 10 years ago, if the Rangers were going through this, I would have laughed all the way through it. I went like, that's great. Awesome. The Rangers suck. This is great. And with this channel and watching 31 teams and watching every team and trying to watch as much of every game as I can, it gives me a different feel. So I get a better feel for all the fan bases and the teams. And I genuinely feel bad for the Rangers right now. And I know Rangers fans are like, this is what we need. We need to go through this rebuild. We need to just throw in the towel for this year. But I feel bad for Henrik. I do. I feel bad for Henrik because nobody let him know that the season's over. So he's still showing up and giving it his best. And it really is. It's in a losing cause, and it's a shame because clearly he's the only one that didn't get the memo. That the season's probably over. And he's still, any game that I watch, Henrik's standing on his head. And even games where maybe there's some goals going in, he's King Henrik. And it's not a lack of effort. It's never a lack of effort, at least in my eyes. And I know there's going to be Rangers fans that come in and say the opposite. But to me, Henrik leaves his heart on the ice. It's a shame. It'll be a shame if he retires without a Stanley Cup. Pittsburgh, 30-22-3. This is the team that these guys have to worry about. 63 points, 67 points. 4 points separate Pittsburgh from first place in the division. Are you surprised? So am I. Pittsburgh won their last game, but they're 7-3 in their last 10. Dallas 32-19-4, 7-2-1 in their last 10, and they won 4 games. The win that Dallas had over Chicago. So the win that they got over Chicago, which caused them to sweep the season series, it is huge. But now, on the back end of a back-to-back, they got to play the Penguins. And Penguin fans just said, hey, don't talk to us about back-to-backs. We had tons of them early in the season, and we got ridden into the ground for not playing well, yada, yada, yada. And they're right. Pittsburgh comes in rested. Dallas is going to be tired. I do see this as probably game of the night, if not for St. Louis and Winnipeg. I'm hoping Dallas wins it. But they've won 4 in a row, and if they lose it, it's not the end of the world because they're on a nice run. But I don't want to see Pittsburgh. I don't. I'm done with, I'm done with Pittsburgh. It's fine. It's great. I just I'm I'm still dealing with the heartbreak of last spring's Stanley Cup final, and just seeing them on this run. It's like, oh, and the team it really reminds me of is the New York Islanders. The New York Islanders in the early '80s would do this. They'd have a rough patch, and you go, all right, somebody else is going to win the cup this year, and then they'd go on a run. Next thing you know, they're up near the top of the league, and they're winning again, and they're winning big. Um, don't bet against Pittsburgh. Don't bet against Pittsburgh coming in and beating Dallas tomorrow night, and don't bet against Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Because by the time the playoffs roll around, as much as I do my power rankings and, I think this team's going to win the cup, I think this team's going to win the cup, when the actual playoffs come around, I may do this year what I didn't have the guts to do last year, which is say, yeah, Pittsburgh again. We're not at that stage yet, but we're getting there. The Penguins have been really, really solid. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Dallas, because Dallas has been on a very nice run themselves, and I'm really proud of what Dallas has done this year. But Pittsburgh's just been really, really, really good. They've had some bad nights mixed in there, but for the most part, they've been really good. And it's been frustrating to watch as somebody who's like, finally, Pittsburgh can miss the playoffs and somebody else can win. And no. Rumors of our demise were greatly exaggerated, said the Penguins. Finally, Detroit and the Islanders. Detroit 21-23-8. Islanders 26-23-6. Detroit 4-5-1 in their last 10. Lost their last 2. Islanders 3-5-2 in their last 10. They lost their last 2. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. Some nights Detroit comes out and they allow a couple of goals early. The Islanders have a lethal offense, so therefore that could happen. Some nights, Jimmy Howard or Peter Mrazek, doesn't matter who's in net, will stand on their head and get a shutout. That would be to the benefits of Detroit. Sometimes the New York Islanders allow 50 shots, and they win. Sometimes they allow 22 shots, like their most recent game, and they lose. I want to be able to say, the Islanders have been cold, and Detroit's had some good games here and there. So yeah, Detroit will go in and win. But the Islanders are better at home than they are on the road. So really, that's a game that if you're Vegas bets right on that game, good luck. If you bet on the game, and I don't, and people have asked me that, do you ever bet on the? No, absolutely not. In this environment with these teams, you can't predict anything. I couldn't predict these 8 games. There's no way. So no, I don't throw my money to people that I know aren't going to give it back. That's why I like buying the things I buy. Like I can buy shirts like this, and I still have the shirt. If I bet on this, I might lose the shirt off my back trying to pay for the debts that I have from betting on hockey games. And this game, this is the most I don't know. Of all the board, this is the most. Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen. And Islanders games can be some of the most entertaining games you watch, because there's very often lots of goals, lots of shots, wide open play, and you watch it and you think, wow, these Islanders play an entertaining hockey game, and it's not playoffs. The one thing that I will say, and this is going back to the Leafs comment, is that when you play that run and gun style, and then you run into a team that's playing really solid playoff hockey. It's not the Red Wings, but this is the one thing I will say for the Toronto Boston game. Those teams that are playing really solid playoff hockey will shut you down. If the Islanders somehow manage to get on a run, if the Islanders somehow manage to get in because the Metro's been struggling, their biggest problem in a playoff series would be the fact that they play that run and gun style. They allow way too many shots. And they're going to be against a team that, let's say they play the Devils. The Devils will shut that down. The New Jersey Devils will shut that down. And over a 7-game series, it gets more and more difficult to score goals usually. And for the Islanders, if they're not scoring 3 or 4 a game, they're probably going to lose. So that's my concern with the Islanders. And for the Red Wings, they're, again, trying to prove that this division with Florida isn't just made up of hot garbage from teams 4 through 8. And it's been that way most of the year where it's just been awful. So maybe Detroit and Florida can start leading their way back to respectability and leading the division back, but I'm not 100% betting on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon. And for those who subscribe to the Entertainment Guy, my favorite movies from 200 through 191 were posted, and then I did a second video, 190 through 181, because I'm insane. So you can go over and view those if you'd like. But for now, and for this, I'm done. I'll talk to you again soon.